Alright guys, I'm trying something a bit different. Normally my videos aren't scripted, but this one is. Anyway, I'm going to be splitting this review into 5 categories, all being rated from 1 to 5. The categories include story, sound, graphics, bugs, and gameplay. So yeah, let's review Monster Train. Alright, starting off with the story. This game, well, it doesn't really have one. Although there is some basic exposition when you boot it up, but it's not much. The basic premise is that you're trying to restore fire to hell, while angels are trying to stop you from doing so. The only real solid lore you do get is about the different demon factions and what they are capable of. But that's really it. Because of this, I'm going to give story a 3 out of 5. It's not bad, but also there isn't much of a story there at all. Some dialogue between battles or at the end of runs would have been nice, but the story isn't ruining my experience. Now, on to sound design. This game's sound is pretty good. Nothing too amazing, but it is pretty good. Starting with the music. It's nice. It's not something I really noticed until I was specifically listening for it, but that could just be me. I'm really bad about that. The sound effects, however, are great. Everything has a sound effect for it, and they all sound good. There's a nice satisfying sound when you kill an enemy, and a not so satisfying sound when an enemy kills you. All the sound effects when you play cards sound great too. So I'm giving the sound a 4 out of 5. Decent music, and really good sound effects. I'm going to start with saying I played this game on an Xbox Series X, so I did experience it with better graphics and frame rate than an original Xbox One. However, this game looks really nice, and I think it would look fine on an original Xbox or low-end PC, mainly because the graphics aren't too realistic and they're more cartoony. You can see those right now, though. All the animations are really smooth and nice, such as playing cards and attacking opponents. The monsters and enemies are well designed and nice to look at. This is the same for the card art. Although the different floors in the train stay the same for every run as well as the background, besides these details, the game genuinely looks really good to look at. In terms of frame rate, the game stayed at a steady 60 frames through all my time playing, which is better than some AAA games. I'm looking at you, Cyberpunk. The graphics can get a bit repetitive like in most games, but I'm giving them a 4 out of 5 because the game looks good and runs at a consistent frame rate. Now, on to bugs. Alright, now for bugs. I did not run into any. Alright, next section. Alright, here we are in the gameplay section, the real important stuff. As I mentioned earlier, you're on a train trying to make it to the center of hell. You go through battles building your deck as you go, while also selecting different paths and upgrades in between combat. It's a lot like Slay the Spire, but it varies a bit. Okay, let's start with combat. Combat is played out in 3 floors. Monsters start on the first floor and work their way up, and if they make it past the floor, they damage your pyre, and let's just say, you're straight out of luck. The main objective is to stop these fuckers by using your own monsters and spells. Each floor has a certain number of spaces you can put your own monsters in, and they will attack the enemies. These monsters all do different things and have different health pools and attack damage. Some have different abilities, such as multi-strike, which means they can attack twice, or sweep, which means they hit all enemies instead of just hitting the front one. Some might also have spikes, so if an enemy hits them, that enemy takes damage. But you don't just have monsters to take care of these bad guys, you also have spells. Yay! These can do a range of things, from buffing your monsters to dealing damage to enemies to adding more space on each floor. Lots of these buffs/debuffs on monsters can also stack, which means you can get some crazy stuff going. Each spell and monster takes a certain amount of energy, but you only get 3 energy each turn, so use it wisely. The other important thing to mention is the different monster clans. When you start a run, you pick a primary and a secondary clan. You can get cards from only the clans you pick for that run. You also get a hero from your primary clan called a champion, which is a 0 energy monster that you always get on turn 1 in a combat scenario. These can be upgraded with special abilities throughout a run, and they can get seriously powerful. There are 5 clans. There's the Hellhorned. These are the straight out damage dealers. They are strong and they hit like a semi-truck. They have powerful spells too. Then there's the Awoken, little bitch clan if you want to hide behind spikes and healings while you get laid down for a nap time like a little baby. The third is the Striga Guard. That's probably not how you say it. They rely heavily on spells, and most of their monsters get buffed when you use spells. Fourth is the Umbra, the straight up cannibals. They eat other monsters and they get more powerful. It's kind of gross. I'll leave the fifth as a surprise. Anyway, what are you going to be doing when you're not kicking some monster ass or getting your ass kicked by a monster? Well, in between combat encounters, there's a railway with, fuck me. No, that's staying in. With 2 sides to pick from each offering different rewards, basically 2 paths. There could be a shop that sells monster upgrades, spell upgrades, or artifacts. These artifacts offer permanent buffs in combat and are pretty fucking useful. You might also get a random encounter, or restore some pyre health, or maybe you will get some monsters for your allied or primary clan. Each railway offers a few of these things. Alright, one last thing to mention. This game is a roguelike, so every time you die, you restart. But you unlock more cards and clans as you go, and you can master previous cards too so they look cooler, which that's pretty awesome, like, come on. And if you manage to win, you can increase the difficulty with modifiers. It stacks up to 25, and it gets harder every time. Just like never mind, not doing that. Alright, that was a lot of information, but I'm giving gameplay a 5 out of 5. The gameplay is really fun and has kept me entertained with new clans, cards, and difficulty levels. I can see this getting boring eventually, but it hasn't yet for me. Now, on to my final thoughts. Alright, for the final section, let's start with the pros. This game looks great, sounds great, and plays great. The gameplay is fun and has personally kept me coming back with more clans and cards and difficulty levels. The whole roguelike aspect is really nice. Now the cons. I can see this getting repetitive after playing for a while, but some people might like it longer than others. And there's also a lack of story here. For my final score, I'm going to give Monster Train an 8 out of 10. You can buy Monster Train on Xbox or Steam for $25. I believe it is also on Game Pass, because that's how I played it, so I'm pretty sure. It does also have a DLC pack with another clan and new gameplay mechanics, but I have not played that, so anything mentioned in this review does not apply to that. And also on Steam, you can buy the soundtrack for, I believe, $10 if you really like the music. Editor's note, this was cringe to L. Thanks, Tristan. Alright, and with that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.